Welcome back, everybody. That's right. We've made upgrades. Not a whole lot of upgrades because we only have one microphone between the three of us. But the audio probably already sounds way better. One microphone, one headphone. Liam's going to be the listener, and we're just going to pass the microphone back and forth. We are back with CPH is doing sign language. We have an ASL interpreter. We made upgrades, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very big news here. Liam is still the cameraman, working on something. He's turning on his airplane mode. So just in case he does get any notifications like that one, probably didn't hear it because we only have one microphone now, and the audio is much, much more distinct, ladies and gentlemen. Boys, let's get a round of applause here just for some upgrades here. What do you say? All right, we are back with another edition of the Three Fellas Listen. That's what we're calling this, right? Three Fellas Listen podcast, where we listen to an album before. We're not going to listen and react to it. We already listened to it, and we have and we have our thoughts that we are going to say. The album that we have on this one is The Temptations Sing Smokey. I am here with Liam Huser. He's the host of the channel. It's his channel. I'm just a special guest here. My name is Jack, and CPH, the the baby brother of the outfit. Liam, I'm going to pass it over to you. Here's the microphone for you now.
I just want to address, next podcast or two podcasts from now, in a couple weeks, or week to a month's time, it'll be sorted out and we'll have three mics. But I'm just running into some tech issues today. I have a broken computer, and I also, I'm just running into some tech issues, guys, but I'll get it sorted out. And yeah, we got a comment on the last video, and the guy was like, this is clickbait. This is clickbait. You guys are not reacting to it at all. And I'm like, what's the problem? So we respond, Jack, because although Jack is just a guest on the channel, he does PR for the channel, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I like fighting online too.
So, yeah. Just so you know, if you're planning on watching this whole video, we're not listening to it right now. We already listened to it, and we're giving our thoughts and opinions on it, which I think is a completely normal thing to do online. I see people do it all the time now. Apparently, some people, for some reason, they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to listen along with these guys." I don't understand, so I forget that guy. But I hope you're still watching. I'm sorry we misled you, and I'm gonna give the mic to CPH. We're not gonna say this every time we pass the mic to somebody, but Colin, why don't you give yourself a little intro today? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. My name is Colin Patrick Kruiser, also known as CPH, all the way up to my mouth. Hopefully this sounds a little better now. I'm not a musician, unlike these other two. This is my first ever time holding a real life microphone. This is a big thing for me. Kind of excited, kind of nervous. But I'm ready to get into this video. That's to say the least.
And you don't think this shirt makes me look fat, do you, gentlemen?
I was hoping that this would not come up, this particular topic, so I'm going to choose to abstain.
No comment.
God damn it. Okay. Well, yeah, as Jack alluded to, Jack, who is a very good friend of mine, who I met about 13 to 14 years ago, and he's a good friend of mine. I've known Colin for 20 years because he's my baby brother, so I've known him since he was born. Now, Colin, he's a bit of a silly guy. We're going to try and reel him in on tonight's event. He's a crazy fella, but we're in now, boys. The Temptations Sing Smokey. Is this our first soul R&B album we've done? So it's not our first 60s album. We've actually done a lot of 60s albums, and I think this is one of the older ones we've done. 1965. I like the Temptations a lot. I like this whole style of music a lot. It's one of my more favorite styles of music. I'd never heard this album before. I am curious, Colin. Sorry, CPH. I think I know what you probably think about this, but Jack, curious if, what's your background on this kind of style of music?
Not a lot. Not a lot, Lee. I don't have a whole lot of experience with this style of music. I enjoy it. I always have enjoyed it. Nothing necessarily against it, but I've always seen the merit in it. But just never really my cup of tea. I never really gravitated towards it too much. I definitely, like I said, can see the appeal and understand why people like it so much, but it's never really been my cup of tea.
All right, CP, what do you think, man?
Personally, I love myself some rhythm and blues. I love myself some soul. You know what I mean? I definitely listen to a fair amount of R&B, old and new. I love Marvin Gaye, like classic guys like that. I recently was listening to more 90s R&B, neo soul, I guess you would call it, like D'Angelo and Raphael Sadiq, guys like that. But I listen to a fair amount of R&B. I'd say so.
Yeah, so the Temptations, first of all, they have a lot of damn good songs that aren't even just on this album. I imagine you probably don't know a ton. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, no, I don't know too many. I knew, obviously, My Girl off this one. This was, that song is disgustingly popular. I knew who the Temptations were before going into this. The name is pretty popular, I'd say, in the music industry. But yeah, no, I didn't know too much about them going in.
Okay, do you guys familiar with Smokey Robinson?
I'm not familiar with his music. It's more just I know the name. I did a little bit of research prior to this video, but still, I haven't listened to any of his music. All I know is that he produced this album. That's all I got.
Yeah, so basically this is their second album. It's a Motown Records, Colin. You were right, man. And yeah, so apparently, because I was curious, I'm like, I know that this is kind of before albums were a big thing, wouldn't you say, Jack?
Yeah. So this was certainly before, like Liam said, albums really were a thing at all. It was mainly just compilations. At this point, the Beatles were coming around during this time, and even the first few Beatles albums were all compilations. It wasn't really till I'd say like Rubber Soul, and that came out in what, 64, 65, something like that. That it kind of was like, okay, here's like a cohesive, album with an idea that all the songs kind of matter versus just a bunch of different singles. So this was right before all that happened. So yeah, it was before albums as we know them.
And if you guys have a point you want to make, hold your hand out. We'll make sure we get the mic to you. This is like a conference, something like that. This is like a MineCon thing. Like, any questions?
How much dedicated wham do you need to run your Minecraft server?
Whoa, what is your favorite block in Minecraft? You ever seen that kid? You ever seen that kid? And he's just standing there like, what is your favorite block? Can you imagine being a parent and you're like, yeah, I'll take my kid to Minecon. It's just crazy. Colin, would our parents have ever taken us to that? Jack?
Real quick, I want to say shout out to those kids, man. We're not poking fun. We're having fun. I'm sure they're at the age now where they can look back and laugh at it. We all were that kid one day. So, friends of the channel, all of them, dedicated Wham kid, favorite block in Minecraft kid, all of them friends of the channel.
No, I do not think our parents would have let us. We were only allowed to play video games for a half hour at a time. There's no chance we would have been allowed to go to Minecon. There is absolutely no chance.
No, hell no. We would not have been allowed to go to Minecon. But I was looking at the title of this album. Obviously, I knew the Temptations. And by the way, fellas, I made a killer playlist of songs by the Temptations not on this album. If you're interested, I'll send it to you. but because you'll probably know a good bit. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, because they were like around from up until like the 70s. Like they were around for like the funk wave of everything. So, and they're pretty killers. But I was wondering, I don't know how you guys feel on like the Temptations sing Smokey Robinson. Like, why are they doing an album of Smokey Robinson covers, right? And I'm like, is this even going to be anything I know? Like, what, is this a covers album? And it turns out, essentially, it seems like Smokey Robinson was kind of a writer at Motown and producer. And Colin, you did research on this, so you can maybe echo on it. It seems like he had written some hits for them. And I guess Motown were like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they're like, why don't you do a whole album for him, Smokey? Who was also, he was probably younger than them. He was a pretty young guy. But so they did this. They had some singles, The Way You Do the Things You Do, and My Girl, I think, were released before the album. And then, the rest came out. So not every single song is a cover of his, but some are. Some were written by him and originally performed by Temptations.
I thought I had seen somewhere that It's Growing was also a single. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, looking through the track list online, pretty much, I think just about every song was written and produced by him on this album. By Smokey Robinson, of course. I also noticed there was, I think they're just called the Funk Brothers. They just played music for Motown. They did a lot of stuff for Marvin Gaye. Thought that was pretty cool. I just lost my train of thought. I don't remember what else I was gonna say, but that's all right. Back to you.
Yeah, no, the Funk Brothers are. Back then, they used to have like bands for the label, and the Funk Brothers are probably one of the most iconic ones. You also had the Wrecking Crew, which I think we talked about on the Phil Spector album. I think they were also on the Love album a little bit too. So, yeah, I noticed that too, CPH. You read the wiki, didn't you? You read the wiki.
I did.
Yeah, so that was cool to see them. I'm a session musician guy. I think it's a very interesting career path, and I think it oftentimes makes killer albums when you have the GOATs doing it.
Random question. So I know this is completely off topic, by the way. I'm about to bring up Frank Zappa. I've been listening to a lot of Frank Zappa lately. From what I've read, did he kind of do like session stuff, like where he was just telling everyone what to do? It's kind of what it seemed like. Like it seemed like he hired guys to just perform. I didn't really know that. Is that accurate?
So as I understand, Liam, you might know a little bit better than me about what he did, but he didn't really have like a band, but he just kind of, like you said, hired a bunch of different really, really good musicians. Terry Bozzio was his drummer, wasn't he? Terry Bozzio is a very, very famous like session drummer, mainly from Frank Zappa. Has a really big drum kit. Yeah, like that big. He was kind of almost like a composer. Except for he would compose like rock songs.
So were the Mothers a consistent group or no?
I'm not a Zappologist, but yeah, if only he was here. Yeah, he would Terry Bozzio, Vinnie Colaiuta, another very famous drummer who got his start with Zappa. I think he was just looking for guys who were oftentimes unknown beforehand, who were just killer players. But the Mothers, at least originally, was his band. So the first few albums are the Mothers of Invention, but they're kind of considered to be Frank Zappa albums because he was, as Jack said, he was the composer. I don't know. I'm not a Zappologist. Frankly, it's a little overwhelming to get into Frank Zappa because there's so many people and there's so many albums. But yeah, also, Frank Zappa, Baltimore legend.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I just wanted to grab the mic to say Frank Zappa, Baltimore legend.
Yeah. Also, before we get into this, David Ruffin, who was one of the singers on this album, this is his first album with the Temptations. Shout out David Ruffin. Can I say it? Friend of the channel? Friend of the channel? Yeah, so I say let's get into it, and we'll talk about our opinions on the genre and everything afterwards. I kind of want to switch it up since CPH is a R&B guy, as am I, but CPH, let's make this a CPH exclusive episode. Not exclusive, but inclusive. Why don't you start off with the first song, The Way You Do the Things We Do? You do. Blah, blah, blah.
I just want to start out by clarifying. This usually is not the kind of R&B I listen to. I usually don't listen to necessarily like Motown, if that's what you want to call this. But not saying I like it, not saying I don't like it. That was inappropriate. I don't know if you guys caught that. Anyway, so the first song, The Way You Do the Things You Do, I enjoyed this song. No, so I didn't know any songs besides My Girl, and the Temptations are the kind of band, for me at least, where I know a lot of their stuff, but it's like I'll be listening to a song, be like, who's this? And I'm like, oh, it's the Temptations. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of their songs, but don't know the names of them. I just have heard them many, many a times. But this song, I enjoyed this song. I thought it was pretty catchy. Might be a common theme. Had some killer sax in this one, too. I don't know who plays the saxophone. I didn't look that up, but he was going crazy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I also like this. I also like this song. I thought it was a cool opener. I in my notes wrote down, this sounds like what every frat boy in 1963 was listening to. This just screams 1960s frat to me. I don't know why. So that's cool, I guess. But no, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the sax was killer in this song. So yeah, I thought it was a good way to start it off.
I want to echo that sentiment and say I also don't know why you thought of that. Why this sounds like it'd be a frat song in the 60s. I could see it. I mean, I don't know what else they were listening to frats, and they're like, what? Charlene, get over here. Pour me a drink. And, yeah, so this is sung by Eddie Kendricks, which is, the Temptations. They're one of those bands. I guess a lot of the vocal groups were like, hey, Eddie, you're going to be the guy who sings high, and then you guys sing low. And also I want to shout out the Temptations because I feel like these guys don't get the respect they deserve because they're from long ago. You got Eddie Kendricks, David Ruffin, new guy, Paul Williams, Otis Williams, maybe they're brothers, I don't know, and of course the baritone singer. Maybe Jack can get a little bit of that going for us here in a little bit. Melvin Franklin. CPH, I agree. This has some killer sax on it. I knew this song beforehand. This is kind of a Detroit Motown classic. Immediately, I'm noticing the instrument blend on this. For a 1965 album, the production on this song is really good. You immediately notice that the background vocals, obviously it's kind of their staple here, are amazing. I also really like that key change at the end. Jack and I were talking about that the other day, how key changes like that can sound cheap and cheesy, but I think this is a example where it works really well. The guitar riff is pretty neat. The horns, all the instrumentation sounds good. So I like this song a whole hell of a lot.
All right, CPH, what's next?
The next track is Baby, Baby, I Need You. Again, the song's pretty good. It's catchy. It's groovy. Driving in your car, you might hit a little snap along to the song. This one's got, I don't know what kind of keys it was. Yeah, I thought it was an organ, but I like the organ on this. This one also had some nice saxophone on it. And I believe this one had the real deep voice guy in the background a decent bit, and I enjoyed that. I definitely will echo what you said. The layering on it is quite good. Now, I don't know how this compares or stacks up to other music coming out around this time, but I thought that it sounded like it was produced very well, and I would think very well for the time too. Like, I feel like this would have been a lot of the layering and the background vocals and how everything blended together, I just think was very impressive.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that a little bit, if you don't mind, CPH. I think that the production on this album, pretty much in general, on track in particular, but pretty much in general, is pretty good. There was a lot of like it was very echoey, a lot of reverbs and stuff. But I think that lended very well to the sound that they were trying to do. It's very much like, you know, you can put this on in the background, like you were saying. You're driving your car, you're like, ooh, oh, there's a little bit of head bob going, a little bit of a snap going on here or there. And I think that this song lends pretty well to that vibe. So yeah, no, I think it was a good second track. After listening to this album more than once, it is kind of does start to sound very similar. A lot of the songs, and this is kind of the first one of that ilk, I think. We'll get more into that later into the album, but this is the first song I think of the album that really kind of starts to sound like the rest of the album. So on multiple listens, it doesn't really lend too well. And spoiler alert.
Oh. Yeah, baby, I need you. This one grew on me, Jack Jump. I like this one a lot, man. I don't know if anyone mentioned this, but this would be a great song if you're just like driving in your car, and maybe you snap along a little bit. Yeah, no, this is good. I also noticed right away the organ was a cool sound on this. And, you know, I don't know a ton of albums from 1965, but yeah, I mean, this is, it definitely seems like it's quite choice compared to everything else going on at the time. And there was a lot of great music, but just albums weren't really a thing. This kind of gives me like a nostalgic feel. Like it makes me feel like I'm young again kind of thing. Even though I was not alive, even close to being alive back then. My parents weren't alive back when this came out. But yeah, no, this is it's a good little song. Eddie Kendricks is on this one along with his good friend Paul Williams. They're sharing kind of co-lead on this, which I like when they do that, where you have two main guys singing the harmony. I think it works well for these fellas. Now, are these guys considered unks or OGs? OGs, right?
OGs, dude. These guys are OGs.
I second that 100%. These guys are beyond unk.
Yeah, well, either way, it doesn't matter. We're not ageist on this channel, despite what a lot of haters leave in the comments. No, I like this song a lot. I mean, it's not exactly breaking new ground for me. Like, it's a typical waltz of the time, which was very popular style. But yeah, I like this. Now, the next song, My Girl, sung by Mr. David Ruffin, CPH. I know you got something to say about this, so let's hear what you got, kid.
First off, I wanted to say, I believe this is the first one David Ruffin sang, or is even on. All I wrote down for this one is Frankie Lindor. Shout out Francisco Lindor from the Mets. This is his walkout, or at least last year was his walkout song. This is a classic. Everyone knows this one, or you'd think everyone knows this one. Everyone should know this one. It's just absolutely great vibes. I'd say it's a summertime song. It just makes you happy. Just makes you want to get up and motivate. You know what I mean?
So I have a bit of a hot take about this song. I want to get this out of the way first. I love this song. It's a great song, but and this is it's completely personal. Where most people think of a woman when like a love interest when they hear about this song, I always think about my dog. That's the take. It makes you think of my dog because she was a good girl and I gave her pets. Rest in peace, Maggie Jump. But anyway, I like this song a lot. I think that as I listened to it a little bit more, I kind of I never really fully sat down and listened to it. Of course, I knew it. It's like I was saying earlier, incredibly popular. But as I began to listen to it and kind of try and dissect it a little bit, I kind of realized it's a lot more involved than I initially thought. There's a lot of really cool strings in the background, a lot of cool different parts that you didn't necessarily know if you're just listening to it in a movie or however you're hearing it. So I think it kind of impressed me more than I was expecting it to, which is a little bit surprising for these albums where you only really know one or two songs off of it. Usually it's the other way around. But yeah, no, I like this song a lot. Rest in peace, Maggie Jump, man.
Yeah, I remember Jack's dog, Maggie Jump. Rest in peace. A legendary dog. But, God damn it, how could you not love this damn song? I mean, come on. And if you haven't heard this song, first of all, you don't even need to put it on and listen to it. How would you not know this song? It's so iconic. And I'm with you, Colin. It does make me think of Francisco Lindor, which is kind of like a bad thing because, like, I don't want to think about that guy every time I hear this song, but I do. I mean, I love Frankie, but, I mean, come on. But, no, I'm with you, Jack. I don't think I quite put much thought into, how much is involved in this. First of all, the intro with the bass, and then that guitar sounds awesome. That the strings, everything is great about it. The arrangement, whew. That bridge is good too, man. Like, I love the part. It's such a good song, and I'm going to say this, CPH, I don't know if you'll agree with this, or you, but we covered an album, a Christmas album, a gift to you from Phil Spector, and Phil Spector was the hotshot producer at the time. I got to be honest, this puts what he was doing to shame, the production on this song. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And also, I'm pretty sure Smokey Robinson's never killed anyone before, so we'll give him a bonus point for that, too. But also, David Ruffin is probably my favorite singer, lead vocalist in The Temptations. I love his he's smooth, but also very gritty. He's not faking it, So that's all I got to say about it. Obviously, this is the most popular song on the album. So the next song would be What Love Has Joined Together.
What Love Has Joined Together. I would say this song, I don't know if Jack would agree. I would say this is the second song that kind of sounds all the same, similar to Baby Baby I Need You. It's still a good song. I think a reoccurring theme for me is these are all very enjoyable songs. But it's just nothing really tickles my fancy about it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like that's a good song. It just sounds nice. It's well put together, but nothing too special, nothing too crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I think this is kind of the start of a long stretch of okay, which song is this? Of being like I don't necessarily know which one's playing unless I look at my phone. I do want to say that if anybody were to ask you, what does silky smooth vocals sound like? I don't think you need to look anywhere else other than really any of these songs. But this one in particular, I think, has some killer vocals. They're not like gonna blow your hair back or be like, oh, like it's not gonna be like like a Robert Plant or Chris Cornell where they just are like, holy crap, like these guys are belting their. It's like butter, baby. It's like butter. I think it's very clear that they all knew how to sing with other people, which is a very hard thing to do. There are some bands that do it a little bit better, I think, but I think that these guys could have done it just as good as some of those bands, if not better, if they really wanted to, in terms of harmonies and mixing vocals and everything. But yeah, no, I just wanted to point out they're very, very good vocalists, but I think this is the start of the songs that kind of all blend together a little bit for me.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're not doing anything like super fancy and in your face with the vocals, but I know there's other artists like the Beach Boys and Queen and even the Beatles, I guess, to an extent, where it's a little more in your face and complex harmonies. But I think for what this is, it's just like, I feel like it's just perfect. Like, they sound like a group of guys all singing together. It's not like, I don't know. I kind of like how it's more laid back on this. But I also like this style a lot. So yeah, Eddie Kendricks, he does do a great vocal on this one. I think this is the most romantic song on the album from a sound and lyrics standpoint. The strings are nice. I'll say this song in general is a bit repetitive. So it's not one of my more favorites, I would say. The next one is another David Ruffin one. Also features good friend of the channel, Melvin Franklin, singing the last part of the bridge with the real low voice, which I think we should bring that back into music, having like a guy in the band who has the real low voice. I like that. But You'll Lose a Precious Love. Let's hear your thoughts on it, fellas.
This one, my opinion is fairly similar to the last one. Again, it's a very good song. I think that similar to what Liam was saying, these guys are doing exactly what they're trying to do, and they're doing it very well. It's just nothing about this song is too enthralling, I'll say. It has a nice, I don't know if that's just an acoustic guitar, but it was a slightly different sound, but overall, it's kind of definitely one of the ones where you don't know what you're listening to unless you look at your phone.
Yeah, I agree, CP. I agree. I think these guys kind of in general, they were very much of their time. I know we're getting this conversation a little bit later, but they're very much of their time, or maybe even a little bit after their time, because like we were saying, this came out in 1965. That's like right in the middle of the Beatles, and the Stones were coming, and the Who were coming out as well. So the British invasion and rock and roll were just really starting to, come to the scene, and they kind of still were singing about, good old fashioned love songs and stuff like that in Motown. So I do kind of respect what they were doing. I do think that, like CPH said, we're like kind of right in the middle of, I don't know which song is which at this point. It kind of sounds like everything is just fighting to be the single, which is kind of what was happening at the time. And I'm not usually a huge fan of that, but I will give them a pass because, like I said, I mean, that's just what you did at the time. So I'm this is the part of the album where I'm kind of like they're beginning to lose me a little bit here. I won't lie.
I hate to admit it, but at this point I'm not remembering the songs when I'm listening to it. Like, it is like, which one is this again? And it's like, it's not to say it's a bad song. It's just, and Jack, I'm sure the Temptations will sleep better at night knowing that you're giving them a pass for this. But yeah, no, this one is not one of my more favorites. I thought the guitar was cool. This one was a little more sparse compared. We do have a lot of strings on this album. This one wasn't as in your face with that. I say this about a lot of people on this channel. It's like, of course the vocals are good on this. They're really good singers. Like, it's kind of like, of course the guitar was good on the last album we did. Is Jimmy Page. Like, you set that standard with certain groups where it's like you expect that, and now, okay, we're looking for a little more than just that. But it's still a good song. It's not bad at all. You put this on any time. Maybe you're with a little lady. You're getting a love interest, and watch out now. We got the Temptations on. We're getting a little steamy in here, CPH. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And this would be a good album to kind of lay down in bed, and you're like, oh, CPH will buy this vinyl. Wow. You got anything else you want to say? You like interrupting me?
I do like interrupting him. I made the comment about the vinyl because this is like the kind of thing. It's just, you have it on in the background. It sounds good altogether. It's the same vibe. It's just would be a nice record to listen to.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, it's a nice one. This is a nice one. It's Growing, though. It's another single, another one originally recorded by Temptations. Yeah, I like this song a lot, to be honest with you. I don't know if I heard this one before, but another one where the arrangement is on fire here. The melody is really good. The bass is great. Another cool key change. I also was kind of noticing, like, a lot of times, like, the song titles are kind of like a clever lyric in the song. Like, they are just kind of like singing love songs, but like this song, It's Growing, he's talking about, I guess my love for this fine little lady is growing. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? That's actually, you got to put yourself in the time period. That's pretty clever. It's a nice little, nice one. And also, like I said, David Ruffin has gone up on my list as far as vocalist is gone. I really like his voice. Colin?
Pretty much I'll second everything you said. I think this one it definitely had, I don't want to say more instruments in it, but it kind of felt like it. There was a lot of strings in this one. The guitars all blended well. This one was also, as of right now, one of my more favorite songs we've heard so far on this album. I thought this one was quite good. Not much to say about it. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do think that this is one of the stronger songs on the album, but I will kind of still point out that you can definitely discern this one from some of the other ones, but it still is like, all right, I know exactly what we're doing here. Like it's there are no surprises at this point. Not that I was expecting any surprises for this album, but yeah, it all is starting to sound pretty similar. I do think you can tell pretty easily which two songs are the singles, even if you didn't know My Girl somehow. You can still probably tell, like, all right, well, this is going to be, this is a standout. And I think It's Growing is also a standout as well for pretty much the same reason. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got to say about it, so I'll just hand it over to CPH.
I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, this song, I believe it reminded me a lot of My Girl in the beginning. Like I was a little confused. I thought it was like the same, it almost had like 3 seconds of the same bass riff or guitar riff, sorry. And I think there was another aspect of it too where I was like, oh, this sounds like My Girl.
It sounds like they're like, hey guys, My Girl will do, but that was really good. Let's try and duplicate that now. So yeah, but it worked. I mean, if it ain't broke, goddamn, there's no need to fix it if it ain't broke. So then it moves on to side 2 of the record with Who's Lovin' You, another love song. Hope you guys like love songs, because these guys, they certainly seem to. David Ruffin again. See, this is like, I don't have a problem with any of these songs at all, but it is another waltz, right, which is a very specific sound. That being said, vocals are really good. Another nice bridge in the song, and I did think the pre-chorus on this song was actually pretty cool.
I agree. I mean, not to just kind of, we're all kind of just repeating ourselves at this point, but I mean, this album is very, very repetitive, but if you like the sound, I mean, it's good for you, I guess. The bridge is really good. The saxophone on the bridge is really cool. I liked that a lot. But yeah, like Liam was saying, these guys either loved writing love songs or knew that love songs sold back in the day, because that's basically all that they're writing about right now. Even the first song that I said sounded like a frat boy song in the 60s. That was still a love song, but it just kind of seemed like something that the fellas would like. I don't know. So yeah, I like the saxophone in the bridge a lot, but other than that, it kind of just sounds like the same as the rest of the album.
We'll definitely have to speak to someone that was in a frat in the 60s to confirm or deny this, but there's also, I was just thinking, maybe there's a possibility that frats back in the 60s, they were all lover boys. Like, that might have just been the thing, so they might have been listening to it, you know what I mean? Jack seems to disagree. He started beatboxing, if you couldn't hear that. I'll keep this short. Pretty much the same thing as Liam and Jack were saying. It's a good song. I enjoy this style of music, so I enjoy the song, but it's fairly repetitive. This was the first song I realized that they even had a waltz on the album. I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I noticed it in a later song. But again, good song. Nothing crazy. Nothing special. But still good. Does the job.
What if it was Waltz Jr., like Walt Jr. from Breaking Bad?
Thank you, Lee. And before we move on, I just want to say this. If you've ever seen National Lampoon's Animal House, That is a movie about a frat in the 60s. And they weren't no lover boys, CPH.
It's also just a movie, so you never know.
It had John Belushi in it, so I think that there was some historical accuracy in that movie. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't think we'd be talking about frats so much, but if you're in a frat, comment down below and invite us to a frat party. Have you guys anyone been to a frat party? I have.
No, when have you been to a frat party?
In my younger days. I wasn't in a frat. I wasn't in school, but a friend of the channel by the name of Krigby, his brother, who I believe was also not in a frat, got invited to parties, and then little old me was invited, and it was a pretty interesting experience. Colin?
I also do not and did not go to college, so I have never been to a frat party.
I will say you, CPH, are still in the age where if you were to go to a frat party, it would be normal. If Liam or especially me went to a frat party, that would be a terrible look for either one of us. I think at this point. And I don't want to speak for you, Lee. I have absolutely no desire to go to a frat party. Nothing against you, frat brothers, friends of the channel, all of you, but I just don't really want to do that.
If I cut my hair and lost 30 pounds, I'd have no problem getting into a frat party, I think. You would have no problem. But yeah, no, and look, I do want to say that I listened to this album a ton leading up to this. And so, like, I tried, but I guess I'm glad I'm not the only one here. But it is like, okay, it is hard to distinguish some of these songs. But I'm not saying, and I'm not giving my final thoughts on it. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it is hard when you're comparing it to other albums we listen to, like In Rainbows or Doolittle, or even like Highway to Hell. Like, sure, that all sounded very similar, but I had no issue picking out those songs. Like, I guess it's just because maybe the choruses are just so like in your face that like it's like there's no way possible you're gonna not forget it. Because like if they're going, if you want blood, you're like 50 times in the song, you're like, oh, that's If You Want Blood. But the next song, What's So Good About Saying Goodbye? I'm sorry, guys. Look, if they were going through some heartbreak, I'm sorry, and I'm sure they made the best out of the situation, but this might be, a little bit of a more sad number, I would say, Mr. Jack Jump. And Eddie Kendricks, I hope, he did a good job conveying it because he didn't write it, because Smokey Robinson wrote all of it. But it was a killer bass and guitar intro, and the background vocals are good. I thought this was one of the better choruses on their record as well.
Yeah. Who would have thought that people from 1965 went through heartbreak? Not me. That's for darn sure. But sounds like they did. This is a very sad song, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I liked the production on it a lot. I think there was a lot of nice reverb and a lot of like echoey sounds, which I thought were really cool. But like to Liam's point, it still is sounding very similar to the rest of the album for me. But it was nice that I guess not all of them was about being in love all the time. Yeah, I mean, I guess it still is kind of about being in love, just not with someone who's in love with you. But hey, that happens to the best of us, brother. Happens to the best of us. So yeah, it was all right. To Liam's point, real quick before I pass it on to CPH. To Liam's point, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they all sound the same. But I won't give my opinion on the rest of the album until we get to the end. So here's CPH.
I thought this one stood out slightly more to me. I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think there was any strings on this one. I think it was kind of just, you heard the bass a lot, the drums. I think there was, it might have been a saxophone. There was some kind of horn going on. But this one stood out slightly just because of the lack of strings. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I did, again, to repeat what, these fellas have been saying. It's a good song. but it just kind of sounds fairly similar to the rest.
Good point, CPH. Yeah, I guess it all does kind of sound similar, doesn't it, fellas? So next one is You Beat Me to the Punch, which is Paul Williams on the vocals, actually. This is his only track where he is the only singer. Now, he does sound a lot like Mr. David Ruffin, I notice. But I like that. I like the cool, gritty voices and the soul music, whereas Eddie Kendricks is definitely the very light, kind of feathery voice. But yeah, no, it's a cool song. This is another one where I thought, kind of clever, like, hey, you beat me to the punch. And I'm just like, you sly dog. And it was a good song. It was a good song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing, dude. Like, they all sound the fucking same. I know. He told me not to swear, but I had to, dude. There was just nothing I could do about it. Sorry, we're still getting.
You can swear, just not a lot, because I just don't want to upset some of the older listeners. But I don't want to upset the people that are into the Temptations.
I will say one thing about this album. Taylor Swift never could do any of this. She could never do a smooth, silky Temptations ballad. She never could do that, and I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of her acting like she can. Did you know that she had an entire tour one time where she did nothing but the Temptations, and she tried to act like she was better than Temptations? CPH, do you believe that?
I did see that. I thought that was pretty outrageous.
Yeah, I'm outraged right now. Here's Lee.
She is not a better soul singer than Mr. David Ruffin, than Mr. Eddie Kendricks. Hell, she's not even better than Otis Williams. Or Paul. And she cannot... why does she try to sing as low as Melvin Franklin? Let's hear how you can do it.
How? She ain't hitting that note. She ain't hitting that note. And I can go deeper than that. Oh.
So what you're trying to say is you're a better singer than Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I was going to say that till later, but she could not do something like this. She could not be on Motown record. I'm tired of her acting like Motown is her record label. It's clearly not. They're not even around anymore.
She tried to sue them for all their money and all their songs, dude.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Jesus. She's got to be stopped. Anyway, by the way, Bad Bunny, I liked the Super Bowl halftime show, okay? I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I liked it more than fucking Maroon 5, that's for sure. That sucked. Do you remember that one? Colin, what do you have to say about You Beat Me to the Punch?
First, I wanted to comment on the Super Bowl halftime show. I also enjoyed it. It was definitely better than, even though I don't speak Spanish, I wish I did. I enjoyed Latin music. Definitely better than some of the recent ones. I've been the Super Bowl halftime shows have been very underwhelming, and that one was different. I enjoyed it. It was cool. You Beat Me to the Punch, though. I enjoyed this song. I think Paul might be my favorite singer. He might be. My first time listening to this one, I was writing down notes on it after I listened to like the first half of the song, and I was like, "Oh, this is a nice love song." And then the later half of the song, he starts saying about how his girl was a playa and he has to beat her to the punch on leaving him. I was like, "Whoa!"
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like some of these lyrics, I'm like, you know what? For what it is, it's pretty clever. Like, again, it's Smokey Robinson, so like I don't want to give like. I'll say these guys are really good at conveying the emotions of the songs. And I don't care that someone else wrote it. It was a different time period. Singers and songwriters were not the same thing back then necessarily. But yeah, that's a good call. I didn't notice that, but that was a very good point. You got anything else to say about it? Okay, the next song is Way Over There from Eddie Kendricks. The band kills it on this one, and I think Eddie Kendricks has a good voice, but I definitely don't like his vocals as much as David Ruffin and Paul Williams. But this one I thought was his best vocal for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know who was singing what song necessarily, but it's pretty easy to tell the differences between them, and I did write down whoever's singing it on this one is killing it. So I do agree with that. But yeah, I think also the band was pretty good on this song particularly. But yeah, I mean it's still, spoiler alert, blended into the rest of the album for me. But all that being said, I still do think that this is one of the stronger songs that we've heard so far.
Yeah. I'll agree with everything they just said. Pretty much all I wrote down was that I enjoyed the background singing in this one. That's all I had written down. It was good. It's a good song, but sounds like the rest.
Now, CPH, how do you think you could, let's say there's a job interview, right? And at Motown Records, they're like, we need a hot young guy. I'm not calling you hot. I mean it in the other way, because you're my younger brother. I'm not saying you're a good-looking kid, but anyway, you know what I mean. They're like, oh, we need a new guy for the Temptations. You go and apply to be a background singer in the Temptations. Briefly, pretend Jack and I are the record executives. What do you bring to the table?
Not a whole lot, if I'm being quite honest with you guys.
Yeah, bad start. Off to a bad
No, that's what I'd be honest with them though, because they'd like my honesty. I'd say that I don't bring a whole lot to the table, but I'm really cool, and lots of Skrilla. So all the ladies will love it if I'm on stage. All I need to be is on stage, and we'll get more fans.
You would be a much better fit for Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 after that comment. Would you agree?
I think he'd be a good fit in Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, or just based off pure look and vibe and aesthetic, the Beastie Boys.
Or the Pixies, maybe. Seems kind of like an insult, doesn't it? Yeah, no. Now the next tune. You really got a hold on me. Did you guys not know this one beforehand? Okay, well, I knew this song. I didn't realize the Temptations did a version of it. The Beatles do a version of it. You guys are screenagers.
My notes, dude.
You guys are screenagers. But yeah, the Beatles do a version of this as well as the Miracles, and I can say with confidence this is the best version by a long shot. I like this song a whole hell of a lot. This is a standout for me. The vocals on this are excellent with Eddie Hendricks, David Ruffin, and Paul Williams all kind of singing the three-part harmony together. The melody is great on this one. I wrote down goat of a tune. Yeah, I love this song. It's better than the original version. I don't have enough good things to say about it. Yeah, sure, it does sound like it does the same style as all the other ones, but don't ask me why. I just love the way this song ebbs and flows is the best way to describe it. That's kind of how I feel like the melody does. God, look, if loving this song is a crime, put me in handcuffs and lock me away forever, because I love this song.
Yeah, Lee, I'm not going to say I fully disagree with you, but I'm certainly not as gung-ho as you are about it. This one, again, was kind of forgettable, I'll be honest, for me. I'm sorry, Lee, I really am. Now, spoiler alert, this is going to be the last time I say something about something like that, about something like this on this album. I thought that it was, again, it was a good song, it's okay, but it was just, at this point, 4 or 5 songs in a row that I'm like, I can't really tell one from the other. So it was getting a little repetitive, a little old at this point, and it was draining me a little bit. But Lee, I'm really happy that you found some enjoyment out of it. I really am, because you're my friend, and I want that for you.
I'm gonna have to stand with Jack Jump on this one. Nothing really stood out too much in the song for me. I think it was good. My notes said it was for sure a groovy little tune. That's what I wrote down. But nothing too special in my opinion. It just it was good. It's a good tune. That's about it though.
I'm just surprised that you guys have never heard this song before. It's kind of a popular-ish song. The Miracles, but the Beatles also did a version around the same time. But yeah, I just love this version more. So, last song on here, I think we know how Jack feels about it, apparently, is You Can Depend on Me. And, this is another Eddie Kendricks one, and Otis Williams is singing along with him on this one. look, it's a good song. It's just like I heard 3 waltz already, and I love me a good 3-4 time waltz. It's just like if I had, and a lot of what I'm doing right now is nitpicking because I don't dislike any of these songs. It's just like I would have rather them just end on "You've Really Got a Hold on Me" because of how much I like that song.
So, Liam, similar to how you felt about the last song, I feel about this song. I don't know why. I don't know what necessarily is even that different from the other 6/8 waltz songs on here. But I just liked it, man. It just tickled my fancy. I wrote down in my notes, we all have one type or one girl that makes that this song makes us think about. Whether you're with her or you're not with her, you're thinking of her. It's what's it called? You Can Depend on Me. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, it's one of those songs that makes you stay up at night and wonder what could have been. But yeah, no, I liked it a lot. It was really nice. It was a sweet song, and it was a good way to end the album.
You're a sucker for just sweet little things, aren't you? That's why you like it? You know that, right?
You know, there a lot of people have said a lot of really crazy things about me, but I'm just a sucker. I'm just a sucker for a sweet little thing. What can I say? If that's a crime, like you said, lock my ass up, baby. Lock it up.
I'm gonna have to agree with Liam on this one. I didn't really think it was necessary for them to end on a waltz. The note I had written down on this one was that I enjoyed the high notes. I guess it was Eddie. He was hitting some high notes in this one that I enjoyed, but to be honest, I don't even remember it. I guess when I was listening to it and writing the notes, I enjoyed it. But this one, yeah, it's good. I'm definitely kind of doing a similar thing to what Liam's doing because I enjoy, slight spoiler to my review of the album, I enjoy this kind of music a lot. So it's just if I'm reviewing the song and it's just I guess a classic song for that genre, you could say, then it's just I'm gonna be picking the slight things I don't like about it instead of the song as a whole.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I love this style of music. Always have, always will. I feel like it just reminds. I feel like we've heard this kind of thing our whole lives. Like I feel like this is a soundtrack to my life kind of thing. Whereas like other types of music maybe I discovered on my own, but this has just always been there. You know, I'm a soul man. Not a lot of people know that about me. I'm a soul man. Is that what you're trying to do?
I was gonna say that I think a soundtrack for my life would be "Can't Buy a Thrill" by Steely Dan.
Okay, I don't remember asking that, but thank you. So now, to those people who are new to this series, we're going to now kind of we all discussed the songs, we went through the songs, and now we're going to do a little roundtable discussion and talk about what do we think about this. And in usual fashion, I'm kind of curious to hear, you know, what's your guys' thoughts on the Temptations overall as a group. I'll go last, and who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Okay, so what did I think about this album? / what did I think about the Temptations first? Okay. So what do I think about the Temptations? I think that they're one of those bands that music today would absolutely not be the same without. They're definitely a trailblazer, a pioneer for a lot of different people that that we kind of know and love. They're one of those, I think, groups that are probably your favorite musician's favorite musician. You know, maybe if they're not necessarily super popular with like audiences. Although that being said, there are plenty of unks out there and OGs that love the Temptations. So they're definitely not like unpopular by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not as popular maybe as, you know, some other groups that were doing some similar things maybe. Yeah, like if you look at them up on Spotify, I think My Girl is their biggest hit, and then the next one is like miles below it. So they're definitely not a one-hit wonder group, but they're not super far off, I think. So I definitely appreciate what they did more than I enjoyed it, I think. I definitely respect a lot. You can tell that they were very dedicated to what they did and probably worked really hard to get to where they were. Um, Technical difficulties. I just want to make sure it's good. All right, we're good. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate what they did, and definitely one of those bands that are incredibly important to music, whether you like them or not.
I'd kind of slightly mentioned this earlier. I do enjoy the Temptations. It's not the kind of band I'll throw on, but it's also, I don't know, it's not really the kind of R&B that I usually listen to. It's not bad at all. I enjoy it. I have a lot of I guess you'd say respect for it. But I don't know. It's just kind of like, for me, this album, I guess, it's like it's good at what it does or what it's meant to do, but it's nothing too extraordinary for me.
So I would listen to this type of music and do. I guess probably my favorite soul and R&B music would probably be like a little bit, even like a couple years after that and onward. But I do like this style a lot, and I will say this, Jack. My Girl is definitely their most popular song, but they're definitely not a one-hit wonder. And they have a lot of popular songs, most of them not being on this album. Now, My Girl, The Way You Do the Things You Do, I think you really got a hold on me. I don't know how else I would know that song if it's not a hit. And I guess It's Growing are all relatively popular songs, especially My Girl. But they also have, I wrote this down because I think they're a great band. They have Ain't Too Proud to Beg. They have Papa Was a Rolling Stone, classic, all-time classic song. Now, I don't know how if you guys know any of these songs. Wish It Would Rain, which is an all-time soul ballad. Ball of Confusion, which honestly rocks my socks off. Just My Imagination, Cloud 9, Get Ready. Those are all songs they have, and I guess if you're not as familiar with the genre, you might not know those, but I bet you would know some of those if you put them on. And I'll link that playlist below. But yeah, I guess my final thoughts on the album, and then we'll go around and score it at the end. You know what? CPH, why don't we go in this way? I'm curious. Let's have Colin start.
Wait, am I giving my overall thoughts on the album or scoring it? My synopsis is I'd briefly mentioned it in my last statement in this press conference, but I like this album. I think it's very good. There's not a song I don't like, but it's just, if I'm looking at it, I guess as an album standpoint, it's just kind of like I think it's more like a compilation than an album. I think it all just sounds very similar. It has a lot of very good songs. They're all great musicians, whoever was in the stew, as well as I enjoy the Temptations. I think they're all great singers. But it's just this album, I don't know, it just wasn't anything too like grabbing, I guess, to make me say that this is like a phenomenal album. It's just in my opinion, it's more just like a very good staple for the genre, I guess. It just kind of set the standard, I feel like, more than did something extraordinary. Final score, I would give this album I'd say a solid 7.
All right. So I kind of agree with you there, CPH. It definitely is like a compilation more than an album, which isn't inherently a bad thing. And to the point of what we all were saying, where it's like I really don't know some of the songs from any of the other ones. I do agree with Liam where that's not inherently a bad thing, but it's also not for me personally. I don't necessarily love that. Especially in the age where this type of album was dying, where it's just like a bunch of kind of singles that are all just a compilation. In the age of where the Beatles were coming to their own, the Stones were coming to their own, the Who was coming to their own, all those type of people, like I was saying earlier. I definitely prefer that type of album more than this, both music-wise and also just like layout-wise. I do definitely appreciate this type of music and that type of format. But that all being said, I agree with you, CPH. I gave it a solid 7 out of 10.
Briefly, I wanted to say that I definitely enjoy when I'm listening to I prefer to listen to music through albums. Like I like to listen to an album front to back, and I enjoy it more, and it I guess I have more respect for artists when they're able to have a lot of different sounds throughout an album. Not like instruments, but I mean like having different sounding songs. And this just doesn't do that for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we are in the age where we can hear any album like this, and albums, with the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Rolling Stones and whoever else, they did kind of have they were more supposed to be a larger piece of art, I guess, right? So I'll say this. I like the Temptations a whole lot. I like the sound a lot. I do think that this is a scenario where I would be totally fine if like a greatest albums of all time had a Temptations compilation on there, because you'd see all their songs throughout their career that were significant. Because this is, I'm pretty sure, the only Temptations album on this list, and I kind of feel like we almost didn't get the whole scope of it. We didn't get their whole story of like how many classic songs they had. Instead, we got a little piece of that where, yeah, it did have like two or three like really significant and popular songs, but they had more than just that, and we're just looking at a very brief moment in their history, and they probably just threw this album together like this. Like Smokey Robinson just probably wrote the songs together, they got in the studio and just banged this out in a matter of seconds, which is impressive, and I do think that they are very important, as Jack said, to music history. And you know what? I know we were kind of being hypercritical on this, and I think we all echo the same sentiment, because you guys gave it both a 7 out of 10, which I think means it's a good album. And there's nothing wrong with this album, I gotta say. Like, it's just not something I'm going to put on to listen in the same way as like some of the like classic rock albums, let's say. That being said, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. I think it's a very good album. Great to have in the background to kind of create a vibe. I like it a lot. Will I listen to it again? Maybe. I'll definitely listen to the Temptations again, though. No doubt about it. So I would say, is this something you guys would listen to again? And do you think it's overrated, underrated, or properly rated? And CPH, did you just fart? I thought I saw you fart. No farting in this This is a press conference, not a podcast, by the way.
I would never disrespect this press conference by farting. That's a outrageous claim, by the way. Just wanted to brush that off, but no biggie. People say what they want to say, you know what I mean? Haters gonna hate. Would I listen to this album again, like front to back? Probably not. I do enjoy the Temptations, though. Like, they pop up in a lot of my mixes. So it's not like if I heard any of these songs, I'm going to be like, oh, and skip it. But I don't think I'd ever go back and put this album on.
Sorry, Jack, but I was going to say, like, every single one of these songs would actually stand out individually better than on an album. And I think we would like every single song more if we heard them that way. Jack.
I'm actually going to respond to something that you said, Liam. You said that you think that you wouldn't mind like a Temptations compilation on a list like this. I kind of disagree with that, only because although it is true that we only got one synopsis of the Temptations, and I'm sure they did a lot more different things in this, you can kind of make that argument with everybody. Like, like we listen to Led Zeppelin 2, but that sounds way different than even Led Zeppelin 3 or, Houses of the Holy or Presence or something. And same thing with like Radiohead. Like we heard it in Rainbows, but that sounds very different than Kid A or OK Computer. So being, I guess, a little harsh to the Temptations, it is like, yeah, like if we could have every best of, like the best of every band, I think then all bands, well, that I don't even know if I necessarily agree with that, but like you would get a better synopsis of what every band did, but it's kind of like this, okay, well, we need one snapshot of what they did.
You're walking on a thin line, buddy, disagreeing with me on my press conference. I hear what you're saying, though. To play devil's advocate, though, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and frickin' AC/DC, they all were from the album era, okay? We're going to listen to Back in Black on this show. We're definitely going to hear Led Zeppelin 4 on this show. We're definitely going to hear at least 3 Pink Floyd albums. We're definitely going to hear 50 trillion Beatles albums and Beatles-associated albums. The Temptations, I think, have a significant enough part of music history that warrants them being on this list, and I think whoever made this list realized this. I think they just picked a random Temptations album. They're like, oh, My Girl's on here. That's why I think like a little anthology of like, oh my God, these guys had so many great hits. Like, this is great. Like, oh, of course, it's not as good of an album as Led Zeppelin 4 because it's not a real album. But I think for bands like this, then it would be a little bit different. CPH.
I'm gonna have to agree with Jack on this one simply because I think if we were ranking or if there was compilations on the list, then you're more ranking the artists, not the albums. You know what I mean?
Well, to say what actually your big brother Lee just said, he does bring up a good point that the Temptations are kind of from the non-album era. And I know that they went on into the 70s, which then became the album era. But they kind of established themselves from beforehand. So I can see where you're coming from.
I don't think that means they get a free pass, though. I think we have to rank them all equally.
Right, and to piggyback off what Jack said, though, is like if you're somebody from the 60s, from the early 60s, and you're around in the single era, and then you're basically being forced to create these albums, and you have to keep up with that for record sales or whatever, then it's going to be harder for you to do this because your mind's not thinking about that. These guys are just like, let's make a killer song. Let's just have great vocals on it and have a great band and whatever. And you need to listen to the playlist I made because some of their later stuff is like borderline, not rock, but it's definitely more something you would listen to.
Okay, so we'll stop doing this a little bit because we got to wrap it up. But I like thinking about it a little bit. Thinking about. Yeah, no, this album's only 30 minutes, but we're talking about it for an hour and a half. Thinking about the bands that were around during that time, like a Beatles, like a Rolling Stones, and the Who, and all the bands that I was saying earlier, which I think I've only said those 3. But they started with the compilations, but they evolved with music. And I mean, you could also make the argument that they essentially did it. And they became and made some of the best albums of all time. Made, Sgt. Pepper's and Who's Next and, all these amazing albums after doing compilations because that's what you did. So I kind of still think I'm going to stand on my original point and say that we should judge them, the Temptations, based off albums and not compilations. Although, Liam, you make such a good argument, and I thank you so much for having me on your channel.
Yeah, I'm also going to stand on what I said. I think that I agree with what you're saying, and I think it's a good point. But at the end of the day, we're ranking the album. We're not ranking the band. So I think that even if their albums are more compilation-like, I think that's what we have to look at.
You just like the sound of your own damn voice, don't you? Overall, I'd say it's an underrated album, fellas, because you don't really hear about this album at all, and I think there's obviously big reasons for that. But I think for what it is really damn good.
Yeah, I never said if it was over, under, or properly rated. I think that this album honestly is underrated, even though I've kind of been hating on it a little bit. But I think it's underrated because you don't really ever hear about it, and that might just be like we just talked about, just because of the spirit of what they did as a band, and they didn't really care about albums as much as singles. But you still don't really ever hear about it. You hear about the Temptations, like I was saying, much more like in the light of, oh, they were this awesome band that was super influential versus they had like all these amazing songs, which I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying people talk about them as a band versus them as like songwriters, if that makes any sense. Like they talk about their influence more than their music is. You know what I mean? As performers. They talk about their influence more than their music, I think, a lot. Which is not fair. I think that they were very, very talented. And I think that I think a lot of the music still holds up today. It's just, I'm never going to listen to this album all front to back again because I really don't think that there's that much of a point to. I think you can kind of just hit shuffle play on their Spotify page and you kind of get a similar vibe. So, but I will still say it's underrated.
CPH, close it out for us, baby.
I was kind of going back and forth, and I've landed on, I'd say this is properly rated as one of the greatest albums of all time. I do understand what you guys are saying, that nobody thinks to listen to a Temptations album. I kind of get why, because that's not really what they do. But I still think that just for this sound they're going for and how well they do it, that this would be properly rated as one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, especially from like a historical context. Well, I think this was probably one of our most easiest to misunderstand videos because it seems like we all like these guys a fair amount, and we all have the same exact opinion on them. So yeah, I mean, it's worth checking out, I'd say for sure, especially if you're maybe unfamiliar with this type of music. Check it out, and if you like this type of music, then definitely check this one out. So, good job, guys. I kind of like the one mic format. Now we'll get it sorted out either next time or the time after that. And you should buy a TC Tugger shirt. Yeah, the only shirt with a knob on it. Anyway, I'll send you a link to it. But next album we're doing is Wheels of Fire by Cream. So tune in next time. Anything you guys want to say?
No.